I was the woman Sebastian had given up his family inheritance to marry. But when I was 6 months pregnant, he had an affair. In the private room, he held a beautiful young girl in his arms, kissing her amidst the cheers of the crowd. Someone commented on how lucky he was, with a beautiful wife and a child on the way. He lit a cigarette, the smoke rings mingling with his scornful voice. Claire is good. Yes, gentle, beautiful. But when I think about all the hardship I went through, leaving my family to start my own business just to marry her, I feel like a damn fool. Looking at her now, she's nothing special. Timid, dull, utterly boring. He then kissed the girl beside him again, stroking her face playfully. You're so much better. You don't ask for a title. We can just have fun any way we want. But he forgot one thing. Claire might be timid and dull, but she held a grudge, and she always paid her debts. In one hand, I held the sobriety pills ID picked up from the pharmacy. In the other, a dripping umbrella. My phone still held the message Sebastian had sent an hour ago. Honey, I drank too much. Can you come pick me up? It was the same pleading, boyish tone he always used. The dim, yellow lights of the corridor cast an ambiguous, hazy glow. This was a high-end private club, a place Sebastian could only afford to enter again after Head successfully built his own company. As I walked across the carpet, I stumbled. I lurched forward several steps before catching my balance, clutching my swollen belly. My heart pounded violently. Then, I felt a looseness on my left ring finger. A sharp pain, like a needle prick, shot through my heart. My wedding ring had fallen off. In 3 years of marriage, I had never once taken off the ring that Sebastian had designed and crafted himself. Countless times, in bed, he would hold me in my languid state and kiss my fingers. So beautiful. Every part of you is beautiful, Claire. Only you are worthy of wearing a ring I made. And now, it had just slipped off, with no warning, like a dry leaf falling from a tree in autumn. Its time had simply come. I knelt, frantically searching the floor. In the dim light, all I could see was the long, plush carpet. The door to the private room was ajar, and the voices of young men and women drifted out. They were playing Truth or Dare. Someone must have lost, as the others were cheering them on to drink. Seb, I really can't drink anymore. Help me out, please. If you help me this once, I'll work extra hard for you tonight. The girl's voice was like honey, sweet and cloying, with a playful pout at the end. You little liar. You said you'd work hard last night too. Who was it that started crying halfway through? The man's lazy voice was tinged with amusement and an unmistakable indulgence, just like how he used to talk to me. I am a person who lacks a fundamental sense of security. Even the slightest unexpected noise in a quiet room can make my heart race. Claire, why are you so timid? Even a door closing too loudly makes you jump. Claire, don't be scared. I just put down a glass too heavily. He would lovingly wrap me in a blanket, pulling me into his arms, and gently stroke my tense back. You're like a little rabbit, Claire. I'll be gentler from now on. Okay. I promise I won't ever startle you again. And strangely, under his soothing touch, I would slowly relax. Bit by bit, I gave him my trust, my heart, and welcomed him into the safe space I had built for myself. For years, whenever I showed any sign of fear, he would wrap me in a blanket and hold me, helping me rebuild that sense of security. Until this moment, the safe space had collapsed, and a part of my heart had gone with it. Tears fell, sudden and hot. The heartache ID felt a month ago came rushing back like a tidal wave, drowning me without mercy. Yes, a month. I had known about Sebastian's affair for a month. It was raining that day, too. Autumn in the city meant the weather changed in an instant. I had a prenatal checkup scheduled. I was waiting in a thick coat for Sebastian to come home and take me. He was supposed to be back by 2, but by 3, there was still no sign of him. As my appointment time drew near, I called him. His voice was a little hoarse, but still gentle and patient. He said, I'm so sorry, honey. I'm dealing with an overseas company, and a last-minute meeting came up. Can I have my assistant take you today? I don't like being around strangers. Not even his assistant, whom I'd met many times. But he had been so busy lately. So busy that he would come home after I was asleep and be gone before I woke up. The lingering warmth in the bed was the only sign had been there. The last time I had seen him was 2 days ago. He was radiating exhaustion. He held me, his voice plaintive, and nuzzled my neck like a big dog begging for affection. He told me the company was about to go public, and he had no time for me or the baby. He pleaded for a kiss to make up for the time we'd been apart. Thinking of that, my heart softened. Okay, I said gently, but you have to rest. Your health is the most important thing. He laughed on the other end of the line, making a loud kissing sound. Okay, I'll listen to my wife. At the charity gala last night, I won the bid for the Angel's Wings necklace for you. I'll bring it home tonight. My face flushed with joy. Angel's Wings was a piece by my favorite designer. It was the only piece from his Freedom collection to be auctioned. I had stared at the necklace in the magazine for ages. He had noticed, laughed, and pulled me onto his lap, telling me that if I was sweet to him, he would get it for me. For that necklace, I was very, very sweet. By the end, my tongue was numb, my lips were swollen, and my legs were so weak I couldn't stand. Only then did he lift me onto his lap, his voice husky. Silly Claire, no one is worthy of this necklace but you. But that necklace never made it around my neck. As I held my checkup results, happily looking at the fetus that now had tiny hands and feet, the man who had claimed to be so busy was in the gynecology clinic next door, holding a crying girl in his arms. It's a ruptured corpus luteum from excessive intercourse. Nothing serious. Just be mindful of the frequency, maintain hygiene, and abstain for a while. The girl was sobbing, clinging to Sebastian and whining. Sebastian held her hand and gently kissed her forehead, murmuring comforting words. His temper was never good. Born into wealth, he had been put on a pedestal his whole life. He was arrogant and unruly in his youth. The slightest displeasure would set him off, and he was vengeful toward those who crossed him. His handsome eyes usually held either arrogance or malice. He didn't know how to soothe people, or even how to speak kindly. But with me, those eyes would fill with tenderness. Now, he had learned to comfort a young girl with that same tenderness. I stood in the doorway. The report in my hand crumpled into a ball without my noticing. Sebastian was right. I was timid and dull. Even seeing my husband cheating, my first instinct was to hide, to avoid a confrontation. What was I thinking? Oh, I was thinking. Sebastian knew I had my prenatal checkup today, didn't he? He knew I always went to this private hospital, didn't he? So, wasn't he afraid I would see him here with her? Or was it deliberate? Did he want me to see that he had someone else, so he wouldn't have to waste words? So I would step aside on my own. My eyes scanned the two of them, pressed so closely together. Finally, my gaze landed on the girl's neck. It was the necklace I had looked at in the magazine countless times. So he had given it to her. I don't remember how I got home that day. I only know that I was soaked from the rain, and the phone in my pocket rang and then stopped, over and over. It wasn't until I was home that I answered. Sebastian's voice was frantic. Honey, where did you go? My assistant said you disappeared. Where are you? Tell me. I'll come get you. I told him, numb and calm. I'm home. He rambled on about something, but my ears were ringing, and I didn't catch any of it. After he hung up, I went to change my clothes. I belatedly realized how cold I was, even with the heat turned up to 30 degrees. Even wrapped in a blanket on the sofa, I could still hear my teeth chattering. As the minutes ticked by and night fell, the front door remained closed. Suddenly, I snapped. I flipped the coffee table, shattering the glass vase and scattering the roses and water across the floor. Even in my rage, the timid, dull me had to make sure the wrongdoer wasn't coming back before I dared to unleash my fury. I smashed everything I could in the living room. It wasn't until I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, that I realized it wasn't the cold. My heart was weeping, screaming in agony. My head was spinning. I couldn't understand what I had done wrong. Why the person who had loved me so much would deliver such a fatal blow during my pregnancy. For the next month, I was consumed by self-doubt. I started to fixate on my stretched belly, my tired face. I felt like the worst, most pathetic person in the world. And yet, I just tried to cover it all up, to pretend nothing had happened. I didn't dare to confront him. My family was gone by the time I was 17. For the next 8 years, Sebastian had taken their place. He was all I had. I was terrified of losing him too, but no matter how much I tried to avoid it, I found myself looking for signs on him, knowing exactly when he had just left that woman's bed. the sweet perfume on him when he held me, the occasional lipstick stain on a white shirt in the laundry, the strand of brown, curly hair on the passenger seat that wasn't mine. Countless moments of self-doubt, and all these details I had previously ignored were like mountains, slowly eroding my sanity, pushing me to the brink. On the surface, I was calm. Inside, a tsunami was raging, crashing violently against my heart, until my heart, like an old wall, began to crack and crumble, revealing the ugly, rotten decay behind it. Standing outside the private room now, I felt the fog in my mind finally begin to clear. The noise inside continued, but I had lost the desire to go in. Seb is winning at life, a beautiful wife and child, and a gorgeous mistress. I heard his wife was the campus beauty queen too, a real ice princess, from the same university as the little sister-in-law here. A flirtatious female voice piped up. Is that so, Seb? Your wife is my senior. Didn't you say she was a pitiful thing? Parents died young. Stepdad was abusive. I thought she'd be some haggard housewife. The voice turned pouty. You should have told me your wife was so pretty. I was asking you in bed last night who was prettier, me or her. How embarrassing. No, sweetie. You never pick a mistress who's too pretty. What do you think he's after you for? Yeah, besides, who says you can't be pretty if you're poor? Look at Seb. You could guess his wife would be a beauty. A few more jeers, and the young girl started to cry. Sebastian laughed and smoothed things over. Why are you all teasing her? She's still young, innocent and cute. Don't bully her. As for Claire, Sebastian's laughing voice took on a strange tone. She's good. Yes, gentle. Beautiful. But when I think about all the hardship I went through, leaving my family to start my own business just to marry her, I feel like a damn fool. Looking at her now, she's nothing special. An ice princess. Just timid. Doesn't like to socialize. Dull. Utterly boring. What was I even thinking? Being so obsessed with her. The last sentence was spoken with a rising inflection, as if he himself couldn't find the answer. But all I felt was a bone-deep chill. The past that was a nightmare for me. Sebastian had recounted to his mistress, and who knows how many others. He had dissected me and my family for them, laying bare my blood and pain for their amusement. My suffering had become their entertainment, and the reason for his affair, which I had spent a month agonizing over, was now coming from his own mouth. It made my month of self-torture seem so ridiculous. Sebastian's father had also cheated on his mother during her pregnancy. When his mother found out, the illegitimate son was almost 10, about Sebastian's age. From then on, his mother's mental health declined. After several years of struggle, she jumped from the roof of a building. Not long after her death, his father brought his mistress and illegitimate son home. From that day, Sebastian moved out and never went back. He was 17 then, living next door to me. The change had made him violent and prone to fighting. All I knew was that the boy who moved in next door was about my age, and just as pitiful and neglected as I was. So I would often secretly leave medicine for his bruises by his door. It was only after we were together that I learned about his family and the vast difference in our wealth. His father had never given up on him, perhaps out of some shred of guilt. All the family's resources were unconditionally his. I had tried to distance myself from him because of this, but he had found me, held me, and sobbed. Claire, I can have nothing, but I must have you. Don't leave me. I'll die. You're the only person in this world I care about. My heart softened. I went home with him and met the man who had driven his wife to her death. He looked down on us from his lofty position. Sebastian, if you want to marry this woman, I will take back every privilege you have as a member of this family. I will never forget the pity in his father's eyes as he looked at me, and the scorn as he looked at Sebastian. He said, "Are you sure that when you've lost the halo of being the young master of this family, when you're bogged down in the drudgery of daily life, earning just enough to not even afford a button on the shirt you're wearing now, while your brother inherits the family business and lives in splendor, are you sure that then you want hate her, you want resent her?" Sebastian had stubbornly pulled me out of the mansion, leaving only the words, "Then take it all back." Actually, all the signs were there. Like the time I saw him staring at a photo of his well-dressed illegitimate brother in an entertainment news column. Or the time, during the hardest phase of his startup, he pushed away my hand as I tried to wipe his face. His eyes filled with resentment as he drunkenly muttered, "Why does he get to have everything? He's just an illegitimate son. His mother is a homewrecker. They've all forgotten how they used to suck up to me. These fragments now formed a complete picture, telling me the truth. Sebastian resented me. How absurd. What right did he have to resent me? It was his choice. Why blame me for his dissatisfaction? Coward. Seb, your wife is pregnant. Aren't you afraid she'll find out? A brief silence followed that question. Then, the sound of glass shattering and Sebastian's cold warning. So you'd all better keep your damn mouths shut. She's due soon. There can't be any mistakes at this point. But from the crack in the door, I saw him toss the broken glass aside and tilt his head back. His superior profile was in shadow. The warning seemed like a distant memory. I saw his throat move. He said, "She's 6 months pregnant now. Her belly is huge. Besides, she only has me. Even if she found out, what could she do?" I stared at the figure I had once loved so much. My body began to tremble, until I was so weak I had to lean against the wall to stand. My mind flashed with fragmented images. Finally, it settled on a bloody, stormy day, a drunken, violent man, a sobbing little girl, and a pregnant woman holding the little girl, her belly swollen. Claire, Claire, run. The woman's eyes were bruised and bloodshot. Her hair was a mess, her voice raspy. Behind her, the man was kicking and punching. His voice seemed to travel through time from hell to my ears. He said, "You're pregnant. I got you this big. What can you do? What are you going to do? Run. You're never going to run away from me." That was my past. The past I had spent my life trying to escape. And now, it was replaying itself before my eyes. And I was pinned, unable to flee. No, I don't want this. After a long while, the party inside moved on to the next round. As Sebastian held the girl and kissed her amidst the cheers, my strength finally returned. I suddenly laughed. What I thought was my salvation was just another abyss. I turned and walked back down the dim corridor. My steps went from heavy to light. Finally, holding my belly, I began to jog, until I was back under the bright lights. Sebastian was right. I was timid and dull, but I was also the one who held a grudge the longest. When I offered him my softness, and he met me with a blade, he should have known I would never forgive him. Ding! A message. It was Sebastian. "Honey, tomorrow is our 3rd wedding anniversary. I have a surprise for you. Love. Your husband." I deleted the message without expression and hailed a cab. I had the best night's sleep I'd had in a month. When Sebastian came back, I was on the balcony, pruning my flowers. Our housekeeper, Mrs. Gable, had just returned from her vacation and was helping me wipe the pots, telling me stories from her trip. I burst out laughing, and she smiled. "It's been a long time since I've seen you laugh like this, ma'am." "Oh, the master is back. He always comes back for your anniversary, no matter how busy he is." I glanced down at the man in the garden below, holding a bouquet of roses. He was frowning, checking his reflection in the car's side mirror. The dewy roses vibrant in his arms. They've been married for so long, and he still wants to look his best for you. Look, he's even putting on cologne. He really loves you, ma'am. I sneered. Just a man who's had his fun, checking to make sure his wife won't see the signs. "What are you two talking about? So happy." Sebastian came up quickly. The man who had spent a wild night out was now impeccably groomed and full of energy. He was wearing the black designer suit I had bought for him, which made his shoulders look broad, his waist narrow, and his legs long. Nothing much. Just saying how much the master and mistress love each other. "Master, you spent some time with the mistress. I'll go prepare lunch." Mrs. Gable smiled and left us alone. Sebastian raised an eyebrow, a smile in his eyes. He put down the flowers and came to hug me. "Mrs. Gable is so good, always witnessing my love for my wife." I raised a hand to stop him. The heavy cologne couldn't mask the cloying, sweet female scent that clung to him and made me nauseous. "Did you sleep at the office again last night?" I turned and looked him in the eye. "I did. I finished work at 2 in the morning, so I just slept there." "Honey, I missed you. I can't sleep well without holding you." He took my hand and nuzzled my head against it, his tone pitiful, without a hint of guilt. I laughed. "Is that so? It was raining last night. I was worried you'd get wet, so I went to the office to bring you an umbrella. The staff said you'd left long ago." He froze. I gently pulled my hand away and sat on the sofa, not looking at him. Then, he rushed over and pulled me into a tight embrace, his voice suddenly small and cautious. "I'm sorry, honey. The CEO of that other company said there was a problem with the contract, so I had to entertain him until late. I drank a lot and passed out at a hotel. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I was afraid you'd worry. With the baby." His voice trailed off, and a look of grievance appeared on his face, as if he were a good husband, forced to go out for work for his wife and child, only to be misunderstood. I struggled for a moment but couldn't get free. "The peach-scented perfume on you is making me sick," I said. "Sebastian, I don't like peaches. You know that." At my words, his body went completely rigid. The ache in my heart was replaced by numbness. Good. I could finally face him with a calm heart. For the rest of the day, Sebastian was glued to my side. He took another shower, changed his clothes, and smiled at me. There was a female assistant at the dinner last night. The scent must have rubbed off. Not a trace of panic at being nearly caught. I never knew his acting was so good. I smiled and nodded, letting the matter drop. Sebastian gave the staff the day off, saying he just wanted to be alone with me. He was so clingy he didn't even let them make lunch before sending them away. I watched him busy in the kitchen, and for a moment, it felt like we were newlyweds again. Back then, I had trouble sleeping, was thin and unwell. He would cook for me every day after his own busy schedule. If only his phone hadn't been ringing constantly. He frowned and hung up the last call. The chicken wings in the pan were burnt because of his distraction. My phone buzzed at the same time. A few pictures and a file. The background was Sebastian's office. A girl was kneeling on the desk, her skirt hiked up, the man's zipper pulled down. Their bodies were tightly locked, the man's restraint and the girl's pleasure intertwined. I felt a wave of nausea. I touched my chest and found it was numb. That was a good thing. Useless old woman. Take your baby and go die. I can have his baby too. I just found out. Do you think he'll still want you when he sees this? The message came with an ultrasound picture. He's tired of you. He told me if it weren't for you, he wouldn't have suffered so much. The only reason he's not divorcing you now is because of the baby in your belly. Because of responsibility. Let him go. I ignored her. So it was she who had used Sebastian's phone to lure me to the club last night. The young girl's intentions were obvious. It was a shame. A top university student with a bright future. And she chose this path. I saved the pictures and opened the file from the overseas account. It was the girl's profile. 20-year-old Arya. Young and beautiful. With a tragic past. A family that favored boys. A dead mother. A cruel stepmother. And a violent father. Sebastian had saved her. 2 years ago, during his company's IPO, there was a charity event. A shipment of aid to a mountainous region had a problem. Sebastian went to solve it himself and saved her. A recent high school graduate who was about to be sold by her father to a village widower. Sebastian had appeared in her life like a god. He brought her to the capital, pulled her out of the mud, and sponsored her education. It was only natural that she would fall in love with her savior. She's a lot like you. A message came from the overseas account. I sneered, still in the mood to joke with her. I was never a mistress. She was probably speechless. A long while later, she replied, "Does he have some kind of savior complex? Why is he always trying to rescue people?" Perhaps. During dinner, the messages kept coming, her tone now filled with belated indignation. "Do you want me to get revenge for you? I just hacked into the scumbag's computer. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I can post it on that girl's university forum. Let it go. The problem is the man who eats shit, not the shit itself." "Right. What are you chatting about?" "So happy." Sebastian placed the dishes on the table. He knew I had a special friend. Someone who never showed their face, whose whereabouts were unpredictable. I smiled and stood up. A story about a savior. Sebastian pulled out a chair and carefully helped me sit. "What's so interesting about a story? It's been so long since you've had my cooking." He leaned in and kissed my forehead, remembering the picture Arya had sent. A wave of nausea washed over me, and my mood soured. "True stories are always interesting," I said. "A man meets the love of his life at a club, and years later, takes his mistress from the same club. Tell me, does that man have some kind of special savior fetish?" His hand trembled, and the soup he was serving me slopped over the side of the bowl, scalding his hand. I watched coldly as he rushed to the kitchen to rinse his hand, returning with a blister on the back of it. I placed my phone face down on the table and watched him stand there, lost, for a long moment. Then he said, "Honey, have you been hearing some rumors?" I shook my head and smiled again. "Let's eat." My phone screen was on the last message from Arya. "Guess if he'll be able to spend your 3rd anniversary with you." In the end, he didn't go out to meet her. When he made an excuse about a company emergency, I ran a hand through my hair. I was pleased to see the panic in his eyes when he noticed my bare finger. Arya had provoked me. Even though I knew the problem was Sebastian, I wouldn't let her have her way, even if it was just to annoy her. But although he stayed, I felt disgusted. I mocked myself for having to resort to such tactics, like a concubine in a palace drama, just to keep my straying husband. That night, he held me and talked a lot about our past. He held me tightly even in his sleep, until his throat was dry. He finally asked in a small, tentative voice, "Claire, where's the ring I made for you?" "I don't know where I put it," I replied. There was a long silence behind me before his voice came again. "It's okay. If it's lost, it's lost. I'll make you a new one." A sudden coolness touched my neck. I looked down. The wings on the diamond pendant were sparkling. Sebastian turned me to face him, his eyes filled with deep affection. "Claire, happy 3rd anniversary. The necklace you wanted. I got it back for you." It was the angel's wings that Arya had worn. I closed my eyes and hummed in acknowledgement, pretending to be asleep as I rolled over, my back to him. Perhaps because the anniversary had been so turbulent, he didn't say any more, just pulled me tightly into his arms from behind. Just before I fell asleep, I thought I heard him whisper, "Good girl, Claire. You have to stay with me forever. You can never leave me." But his forever lasted only a few short hours. I woke up when he quietly got out of bed in the middle of the night. I kept my eyes closed and listened to him fumbling for his clothes in the dark, and then leaving. Arya must have been waiting for him downstairs. The moment he appeared, she threw herself into his arms. I watched for a moment, then pulled the necklace from my neck and threw it in the trash. I went to sleep in the guest room. It was dirty. So dirty. The moment he was gone, I couldn't pretend for another second. The next day, I received a message from him. He said he had to go on a business trip, his tone extremely cautious. "I'm so sorry. Honey, this trip was last minute. An emergency. When I get back, I'll stay home and wait for the baby with you. I won't go anywhere. Just stay by your side. Be good and wait for me at home." "Okay. Work is the most important thing. Don't worry about anything else. I have a big gift for you when you get back," I replied. My phone showed a picture of him holding Arya's hand at the airport. The tall man, the petite woman like a pair of inseparable lovers. I turned off the screen and fed all the photos we had ever taken together into the shredder. Then I called the people I had already contacted and had them smash everything in the house that could be called a memory. The ceramic mugs we made together, the trophies we won for projects in college, the handmade rocking chair I had pestered him to make for me, including the 2 nurseries we had already decorated. We could have found out the baby's gender, but Sebastian didn't want to. He wanted to be surprised. So we had decorated 2 rooms, pink for a girl, blue for a boy. But now, they were being turned into ruins before my eyes, along with all my hopes for the baby. After telling the housekeeper not to come for a while, I left. In the car, a message came from the overseas account. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes. I'm coming back for you." Just those 5 words. And all the grief of the past month came flooding out. Tears streamed down my face. Okay. Night fell. Sebastian sat by the window, smoking. A nurse in the hospital room reminded him, "Sir, smoking is not allowed in here." He grunted in acknowledgement and stubbed out the cigarette with his fingers. "How is she?" "She's fine. The procedure can be done tomorrow. Just no intercourse for a while. And stay out of drafts. She's young. She'll recover quickly." The nurse left. Arya's eyes were red, her face pale. "Sebastian," she called out to him. She had forgotten her triumphant attitude when she sent me the ultrasound. Now, all she wanted to ask was if she could keep the baby. She wanted to say it wasn't about the money. But he cut her off. "I'll give you a sum of money. It will be enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Don't contact me again." His expression was cold, all the previous tenderness gone. Seeing that she might argue, he leaned in and grabbed her face. his grip so tight it left red marks on her cheeks. I told you the rules from the beginning, Arya. Behave. And you can stay in this city. Otherwise. He let out a cold laugh, the unspoken threat hanging in the air. Arya trembled. She suddenly remembered Sebastian's ruthless side. It was his recent affection that had made her delusional. It had made her forget that she was just a pet he kept. And his heart belonged to that woman named Claire. All right, you can have the procedure here. My assistant will handle the rest. Sebastian stood up to leave. Arya was still in a daze. Suddenly, she remembered her provocations toward Claire. If Sebastian found out, she reached out and grabbed his sleeve. Sebastian, it's just a few more days. Can you stay with me? This is our child. Let's say goodbye to it together. Okay. She looked up, her face streaked with pitiful tears. She thought, at least she could keep him here for a few more days. After the abortion, when she was a little better, she would take the money and disappear completely, so that even if Sebastian found out what she had done and wanted to settle the score, he wouldn't be able to find her. He looked down at her. From this angle, she looked so much like Claire. The 17-year-old Claire was already stunningly beautiful, but she was also fragile and sensitive, the kind that easily attracted the wrong kind of attention. That's why he, a young master with high standards, had started to pay attention to someone for the first time. He had known about her family situation from the day he moved in. They were infamous in the building. Even the neighbor's dog would bark and run away from them. Her stepfather was violent and abusive, especially when he drank. Screams and cries were a regular occurrence. The police and social services had intervened a few times and then stopped coming. But even in that situation, Claire would secretly feed the stray cats downstairs and bring him medicine when he got into fights. Such a kind-hearted, almost saintly girl. He always believed in an eye for an eye. Those who crossed him would suffer. Those who helped him would be repaid. So, the next time he heard screams from their apartment, he kicked down the door and rushed in. The scene was even more shocking than the neighbor's descriptions. He had never seen Claire's mother before. She was emaciated and covered in bruises, but her stunning beauty was still visible. Claire looked just like her. She was on the floor, her belly swollen, taking slaps from the man. Claire was desperately clinging to his leg, trying to pull him back, but he kicked her away. He was cursing. You married me and you still want to run around and find a rich man. You bitch. You dare to run. I'll kill you first. Then your little slut of a daughter. Even though he had seen his share of ugliness recently, he had never been so angry. He roared and charged, and the two of them started fighting. In the end, the man had 3 broken ribs and a fractured leg. His father paid to smooth things over. The man was scared. For a long time after that, life was better for Claire and her mother. He saw her smile more often. Seeing her smile, Sebastian felt his heart stir for the first time. After that, Claire's mother, who never left the house, would come out, leaning on her swollen belly. She would see him with Claire and gently invite him over for dinner. Until one night, there was another commotion from their apartment. He ran out without even putting on his shoes. This time, it was more complicated. Smashed peaches were scattered on the floor, like Claire's one happy summer. Trampled. Her mother and stepfather were lying in a pool of blood. Claire was huddled in a corner, trembling, holding a peach. She was like a dandelion in the wind, as if she would blow away at any moment. That was the first time the arrogant young master had ever been scared. He trembled as he went to her and held her in his arms. He repeated in a gentle voice he had never used before, trying to soothe her, until she finally broke down and cried. If at first he had noticed her for her beauty, later, he had truly fallen in love with this unfortunate girl. As for Arya, when he first saw her, she was only a teenager, being dragged by a rope like an animal toward a lecherous, limping middle-aged man. Her eyes were dull, her expression numb. In an instant, he was reminded of Claire, trembling in the corner that night. They were both pure jasmine flowers blooming in the mud. In that moment, he felt a pang of pity. But it was only pity, because his heart was with Claire. Thinking of this, his eyes softened. All right, he said in a low voice. For the next few days, he treated Arya as he had before. It was just a few more days. A final bit of kindness for the young girl who admired him, he thought. But somehow, his mind kept drifting back to Claire. The crying her in the dark, cramped room. The silent her, tending to his wounds despite being trapped in her own vortex of pain. The trembling her, lying beneath him, so scared of a man's touch but still obediently his. He missed her, especially when he saw Arya being wheeled out of the recovery room. The longing hit him with full force. Arya was pale, her small frame lost in the oversized hospital gown, like a wilted flower. But Sebastian couldn't help but wonder, would it hurt this much for Claire when she gave birth? He thought, it's okay. He would be there with her, hold her, comfort her, and hire the best postpartum care team. He thought, this would be their only child. He would never let her go through that pain again. But their last chat log was from the day he said he was going on a business trip. And she had told him work was the most important thing. He did have company business to attend to here. And Arya's procedure. He had been so busy he hadn't had time to contact her. And she hadn't contacted him either. Sebastian suddenly remembered that Claire's behavior on their anniversary had been too strange. As if she knew something. A sense of panic gripped him. He frantically sent her a message, not even hearing Arya call his name. It wasn't until he saw the typing indicator appear. And then, after a long wait, a message came through. The baby and I are fine. Have a good trip. That his heart finally settled. He asked Arya, what did you say? Arya sniffled, her eyes red, and pressed her cheek against his hand. Seb, it's just a few more days. Stay with me, please. Sebastian didn't say anything, just put his phone down. The day Arya was discharged, Sebastian impatiently had his assistant book a flight back to the capital. Before boarding, he called Claire. Her voice was still gentle. She said she would pick him up at the airport. He smiled. Stay home, honey. You're 6 months along. Don't run around. I brought you a gift. Just before hanging up, an impulse seized him. Claire, she replied. He said, I love you. The past few years had been so hard. He had left his family's support and suffered so much to build his own company. So many people had called him an idiot for giving up his inheritance for a woman. They compared him to his illegitimate brother who had inherited everything. Who was he? He was once the prince of the family, everyone's darling. But now his dignity was being trampled by that illegitimate son. The worthless playboys he used to look down on could now easily crush his fledgling company just to curry favor with his brother. He had unfairly resented Claire for it, even hated her for making him lose his mind and throw everything away. It had been a long time since he had said those 3 words with such genuine passion. Saying them now, his heart pounded like a teenager's. He waited for her reply. But time passed. A long time. The pounding in his chest slowed, and the smile on his face faded. Only then did she reply with another The call ended. The passion faded. His smile felt stiff. But it was okay. The only thing he had done to wrong her was Arya. When he got back, he would erase all traces of it. Claire would never know. They would be as loving as before. And soon, they would welcome their baby. A peaceful image formed in his mind, and his expression softened. When he landed, it was drizzling in the capital. The air felt ominous, as if something important was about to be ripped from his life. Sebastian pushed the thought away and sped up. Faster, faster. He would drop Arya off at her school and then go home to her. What was Claire doing right now? Was she reading quietly on the sofa? Or pruning her precious flowers on the balcony? Or maybe she was already pacing by the door, her hand on her belly, waiting. Bang. The accident was so sudden. He instinctively threw himself in front of Arya. She had just lost a child for him. If the impact was severe, her life could be in danger. Rain. And his own distracted mind. It was a rear-end collision. His car's front had slammed into the back of the car in front. Sebastian knew it was his fault. But who was he? He was the prince of the Quinn family. He never admitted his mistakes. After making sure Arya was okay, he called his assistant and told him to handle it with his usual methods. Teach this unlucky person who had brought him bad luck a lesson. After hanging up, he got out of the car, his face cold. Arya, frightened, followed him. The rain was getting heavier. Sebastian took off his jacket and held it over Arya's head, pulling her into his arms as he went to see who was in the other car. But before he took 2 steps, he saw a scene that would be seared into his soul for the rest of his life. A woman fell out of the driver's side door. Her swollen belly convulsed in pain as her head hit the pavement. Then, she looked up. Her eyes, as she looked at him and Arya, were as calm as a still well. The face he had been longing for appeared before him. In that instant, it felt as if all the blood had been drained from his body. Fear made his lips tremble, but no sound came out. When I woke up in the hospital, my forehead was bandaged. My injuries weren't serious, but the scene had looked dramatic. A nurse came in, gave me some instructions, and was stopped at the door on her way out. Sebastian was waiting outside. He was asking about my condition in a low voice, not daring to come in himself. I gently stroked my belly and called out, "Sebastian." The questioning stopped. After a long moment, the door opened. His suit was wrinkled, the same one he had used to shield Arya from the rain. He forced a gentle smile, his voice hoarse. "Claire, don't misunderstand. She and I, come and see our baby." I interrupted his excuse gently. The sky had cleared. I looked up at him and smiled in the sunlight. His expression instantly softened from panic to tenderness. He walked over, dazed. I looked at him closely, and finally, I saw guilt on his face. Guilt for cheating on his pregnant wife. I found it laughable, and I did laugh out loud. Sebastian snapped out of it. He reached out a trembling hand to touch my belly. His voice choked. "I'm sorry, Claire. You scared me to death yesterday. Didn't I tell you to wait for me at home? Didn't I?" He couldn't continue, and finally rested his head on my belly. "If something had happened to you, what would I have done?" The atmosphere in the room grew warm. We stayed like that, so quiet I could hear the dripping of the faucet in the bathroom. I stroked his hair, like soothing a rabid dog. I used to do this when he was younger, when his temper would get him into trouble. But I had seen him bury his head in another woman's chest. A disloyal dog is disgusting and sticky. It was as if my hand, having touched him, was now dirty. So, I suddenly pushed him away. I met his bewildered gaze and smiled, word by word. "Sebastian, let's say a final goodbye to our baby. Let's hope in its next life it's not reincarnated as the offspring of a degenerate like you." Sebastian went mad. He was pinned to the floor by several large men I had hired. Screaming, he almost broke free several times. Good thing I was prepared. The moment the contraction started, I had the men who were waiting outside restrain him. His expression shifted from shock to pain, and finally, to despair. Claire, are you joking? I was wrong. I was so wrong. Arya and I were just for a few months. I never loved her. I love you. I only love you. I'm begging you, please. This is our child. Claire, we're all each other has left in this world. This is our child. You can't do this. His eyes were so red they looked like they would bleed. He was completely breaking down, letting out inhuman screams. That's right. I had chosen to have an induced abortion, and I did it in front of him. I could feel the baby's frantic movements as the medicine took effect. Its final struggle. My stomach was cramping. My heart was seizing. I trembled as I climbed out of bed and walked over to him. My calm shattered. I grabbed his collar. "No, I can, Sebastian. Because degenerates like you and your father don't deserve to have children. Claire." He was forced to kneel before me, roaring in agony. In all the years we had known each other, he had never raised his voice at me. Now, his eyes were blazing, and the hatred he had hidden for so long was finally on the surface. It was one thing to know he hated me, another to see it. In that moment, everything felt fragmented and absurd. "That's your child too." I made a mistake. But what did it do wrong? To be denied the chance to even be born. How can you be so cruel? Have you forgotten your own mother? Your mother died protecting you. You're a mother now. Claire. He was babbling, trying to attack me with my deepest pain. But I didn't care, because I knew, if my mother could see this, she would be happy for me, glad that I hadn't followed her path. Her last words to me were run. Now, I had finally, completely, run out of that shadow. So I curled my lip in a mocking smile. I looked at him with scorn. "What right do you have to judge me? This is all your fault, not mine. Look at you. You're just like your father now. A beast who cheats on his pregnant wife. So a degenerate's genes really are passed down. And you don't deserve to have any more children. And I am not your mother, who withered away from a broken heart because of her cheating husband." In that moment, my knowledge of him became the sharpest blade to stab him with. The room was filled with his ragged breathing and his bloodshot eyes. My forehead was beaded with sweat from the pain, but I remained nonchalant. A nurse rushed in, afraid something would happen to me. Had I won? No. In this game, we were both losers. He was held down, kneeling on the floor. I turned away from him. He deserved to kneel and see this child off. The pain in my abdomen grew worse, as if my entire lower body was being torn apart. Induced labor meant giving birth to a stillborn child. The nurse helped me walk around the bathroom, rubbing my back and teaching me how to breathe. Sebastian knelt right outside the bathroom door, his eyes bulging as he stared at my belly, tears streaming down his face. So he did care about this child. My stomach felt like it was being churned by 1,000 dull knives. My body was drenched in sweat. But looking at him like this, a strange, perverse satisfaction washed over me. My scalp tingled. The doctor came in to check on me and gave me an epidural. I had bitten my lip so hard it was bleeding, but I still managed to say, word by word, Sebastian, when you were cheating, did you think about me? Pregnant. Did you think about this child? You remember this. This child was killed while it was still breathing. Because you cheated. Blood trickled down my legs, pooling on the floor. Finally, with a soft sound, the baby was expelled into the medical basin that had been prepared. Sebastian's eyes followed the basin, his expression shifting from despair to numbness. A guttural heh sound escaped his throat. Finally, I slowly bent down, lifted the baby, which already had tiny limbs, from the basin, and placed it in his arms. Sebastian, look at it. Look at the child that lost its life because of your mistake. So you won't forget what it looked like in your dreams. He ran. He fled in terror, even stumbling and falling as he scrambled out of the room. Watching his retreating back, I took a deep breath. I knew I had serious psychological issues. I had been in therapy for a long time, but after I got pregnant, strangely, the little thing growing inside me seemed to have a special power. It had slowly healed my psychological wounds, and I hadn't had an episode in a long time, so I stopped taking my medication, stopped seeing my therapist. A week ago, I had stepped back into the therapist's office, not for treatment, but to recount the dark events of the past month. At the end, I asked, Doctor, tell me, what can I do to make him regret it? My therapist didn't answer, and I didn't wait for one. As Sebastian had said, he knew me better than anyone, and I knew him. After so many years of therapy, I had learned how to use reverse psychology to attack a person's weakest point. I think Sebastian will never have children again. It was a brutal, psychological castration, and it was the big gift I had promised to give him. I stayed in the hospital for a week. During that time, Arya called me once. She was no longer triumphant, but hysterical. What did you do? Why won't he eat or drink? Why does he have a constant fever? Claire, you evil woman. You should go to hell. I just laughed and asked her. I hear Sebastian forced you to have an abortion. The line went dead. On the 8th day, an unexpected visitor arrived, a woman in all black. She looked at me for a moment before taking off her mask and hood. Looking at her face, which was almost transparently white from years of avoiding the sun, I choked back a sob and then burst into tears. That afternoon, I was discharged. On the way to the airport, Sebastian called. I didn't answer. He only called once. While waiting for our flight, Zoe put on her mask and hood again, typed on her laptop for a bit, and then looked up with a smile. Done. I was sitting in a daze and didn't ask what was done. Zoe was my mysterious friend. Her situation was similar to mine, except she avoided light and crowds by choice, while I was afraid of them. She used to be a hacker. She was once caught after provoking and hacking into the system of an old, established family's corporation. That same family later bailed her out and hired her as a network security engineer. So her done was probably not a good thing for someone. The divorce papers have been sent. Soon, you can come live with me abroad. She ruffled my hair. I finally looked at her. It wouldn't be that easy. Sebastian was persistent and vengeful. This time, I had caught him off guard. He hadn't had time to react, but he always paid his debts. Whether in love or hate, he would not let go easily. So before going to the airport, I had met with someone, the current head of the Quinn family, Sebastian's illegitimate brother. I knew Sebastian. His pride was immense. Even though he had made a name for himself, His father's of the heir was a lifelong source of resentment. He would never accept being trampled by him. It was worse than death. In the early days of our business, when he still loved me, he had given me 20% of his company's shares. Now, I had sold those shares to his brother. The two of them had been at each other's throats for years, each wanting to destroy the other. His brother would surely not miss this opportunity. Only by pitting them against each other could I buy myself some time to recover and get the money I needed to survive abroad. After going abroad, I spent a long time recovering. The 6-month-induced abortion had taken a huge toll on my body. During that time, I finally understood what Zoe's done meant. She had taken the bed photos and videos of Sebastian and Aria from his computer, compressed them, and scheduled them to be sent to all of his business partners and company employees. She also privately sent Aria's provocative messages to me to Sebastian. His company was already in turmoil because of the shares I had sold to his brother. This new development made his situation even worse. But even then, he didn't stop trying to contact me, no matter how hard Zoe tried to block him. A few messages would occasionally get through. Claire, where are you? I'm not getting a divorce. I was wrong. Can we go back to how things were? Claire, I love you so much. I won't let you go. I will find you. Claire, I know where you are now. As soon as I handle things here, I'm coming to get you. Claire, I know what Aria did. I've sent her away. No one will ever come between us again. The attached photo showed Aria, her face tear-streaked, her hands tied. The men with her were the ones I had seen in the profile Zoe had sent me. Aria's grandmother, father, stepmother, and the widower who was almost her husband years ago. My hands trembled as I read the message. Zoe took the phone from my hands and wiped the sweat from my forehead. Ever since the abortion, I had been having cold sweats. My whole body was cold. Now, a chill was spreading from my heart. She helped me up. I made soup. Let's go eat. I nodded listlessly. She sneered. It seems things aren't chaotic enough for him. He still has the energy for this. She went to her room, brought out her laptop, and sat at the dining table. You eat first. I'll add some fuel to the fire. Before she could start, I stopped her. Don't. He's already a spent force. His brother won't let him recover. It wasn't worth her taking another risk. Soon, there was another turn of events. Aria escaped and claimed online that she had been deceived, that she never knew Sebastian was married. At the same time, Sebastian released the chat logs Zoe had sent him, exposing Aria's lies. They started turning on each other. The betrayer will always be betrayed. After my body had recovered a bit, I had Zoe plan a trip for me. I had lived for over 2 decades and had never traveled alone like this. From now on, I would always be alone. Knowing this, Zoe planned a route that spanned the globe, so vast that she would warn me that Sebastian was on my trail. But, because of my itinerary, he never once caught up to me. During this time, due to his distraction, his company was completely swallowed by his brother. Zoe sent me a picture of him, passed out drunk on the street. Pathetic. Defeated. It was enough. The day I returned to the capital, it was snowing. The cold wind hit me the moment I stepped off the plane. It felt like a lifetime ago. I had left, broken and in pain. In just a few short months, I returned a different person, no longer sensitive, timid, and afraid of people. The next time I saw Sebastian, it was when I asked him to meet to discuss the divorce. He had lost a lot of weight, and his hair was no longer impeccably styled. From the moment he saw me, his eyes were fixed on me. We had both been through so much in these few months. We were calm. The scene in the hospital felt like something from another life. After sitting down, I pushed the newly drafted divorce agreement toward him. My shares had been converted to cash. His company was gone. There was nothing much to argue about in the property division. I just wanted a divorce. He didn't look at the agreement. His eyes were red, and he ran a hand through his hair, his voice trembling. I just made a mistake that any man would make. How did we end up like this? I slept with someone else. The moment I said it, he froze, like a broken toy. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. His eyes were filled with despair. Tears welled up in his red eyes and then fell, one by one, onto the table. He rarely cried. The only 2 times I had ever seen it were in the hospital. And today, last time, it was from shock and trauma, an unconscious flow of tears. This time, he was trying to wipe them away as they fell. He clutched his chest for a long moment before stumbling to his feet and trying to grab my hand. It doesn't matter. Claire, it doesn't matter. Let's get back together. Okay, let's not get a divorce. It'll change. There will never be anyone else. It'll make a comeback. It'll give you a good life. I just dodged his hand and shattered his fantasy. That's not going to happen. Sebastian, you don't have a chance to make a comeback, because your spirit is broken. And we're not getting back together. Not from the moment you cheated. He slumped back into his chair. Of course, I hadn't slept with anyone, but I knew his pride was already shattered. I knew what would hurt him the most. As expected, he could no longer make arrogant demands. He just kept repeating how good he had been to me, that he had only made one mistake. You know, Sebastian, it's not just men who are attracted to novelty. Women are too. Do you think I don't get tired of the same old dishes? The same unchanging living room. It's just that I have more morals than you. When I got bored of a dish, I'd add some spice. I'd rearrange the decor. I never thought about moving into someone else's house. Did you? Was it really because Arya was like the old me? In the end, he signed the papers. Before I left, I said one last thing. By the way, Sebastian, you once told your friends that I was 6 months pregnant, that my belly was huge. And even if I found out you were cheating, what could I do? Do you know what I can do now? With that, I strode out of the shop. I didn't look back to see his expression, and I didn't tell him that the timid, dull Claire he thought he knew was actually the most stubborn, and just as vengeful as he was. That night, among the smashed peaches, my stepfather had hit my mother, but it was I who had pushed him in a panic, causing his head to hit the corner of the table. He died, but my mother couldn't be saved either. And the reason he had attacked my mother that night was because when she had invited Sebastian over for dinner, the arrogant young man had verbally threatened that beast. I knew Sebastian was trying to protect us, but it happened to be on a night when that beast was drunk. He was already resentful of being suppressed by Sebastian. The threats that night, fueled by alcohol, made him especially violent. Afterward, I tried to hate Sebastian, but I knew his intentions were good, and he had helped us. He was the one who had waded through that darkness with me. But anyone could bring up my unfortunate family. Except him. He couldn't make a joke of it, because I had once trusted him, loved him. Ultimately, he had also contributed to my misfortune. So when he made my pain a form of entertainment for Arya and those playboys, our mutual destruction was sealed. In the days after the divorce, Sebastian couldn't really remember what happened. He was drunk every day. He only remembered one day. Stumbling out of a bar, he almost ran into someone. But before he got close, the person's bodyguards threw him aside. Probably some rich kid from high society. He sneered. When he was still the prince of the Quinn family, he had an entourage like that. Even bigger. If someone had almost run into him like that, drunk or sober, they would have gotten a beating. So he just lay there, waiting for the beating to come. He even took another swig from his bottle. But he waited for a long time, and felt no pain. He rubbed his temples, about to say, "Are you going to hit me or not? If not, I'm leaving." When the person who was the center of attention walked over and stood in front of him, the man was young, with a profile very similar to his own. He recognized him instantly. In that moment, he couldn't describe what he felt. Humiliation. Degradation. No, more accurately, in that moment, he felt he would rather be dead. He gripped the bottle so tightly his hand was shaking. The illegitimate son just looked down at him and said, "Nothing special," before walking away with his entourage. The bar manager was waiting by the door to greet him, a fawning smile on his face. Sebastian took another drink, chewing on the words "nothing special." Yes, to his brother now. He really was nothing. He was glamorous, surrounded by people, and he was a pile of mud. As he thought about it, his eyes grew hot again. He took out his phone and instinctively dialed the number he knew by heart. He just felt that she should be with him. She had always been with him before. The call was answered quickly, but it was a man's voice. For a moment, Sebastian felt his heart stop. There was another man in Claire's life. Did that mean she would soon be in a new relationship? The person on the other end said hello several times, then hung up when there was no response. He didn't have the courage to call back. Claire was right. His spirit had been scattered in the hospital that day. He could never go back. Never go back. Not to the status he once had. nor to the person he had loved with his life. He threw the bottle away and slowly stood up, stumbling toward the shadows.